What is good, you guys? Welcome back to the airport. Welcome back to a brand new video. In today's video, we're going to be discussing about one player that I think on the Miami Heat that's going to have a breakout season, and one player that I think a lot of people should buy stock into because he's going to have a amazing year. And that player is none other than Tyler Herro. Now, before we get into this video, make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Hit up my Twitter. We are on the road to 1,500 subscribers. Let's get to that mark as soon as possible. You guys are the best. Now let's get right into it, man. So the Miami Heat preseason run is going very strong, as we are 3-0 right now, and we have beaten teams like the Spurs, the Rockets, and the Hawks. Now granted, 2 of the 3 teams are not playoff teams, but the third win against the Spurs was literally with our B or C team. We did not have any of our starting 5 out there apart from Duncan Robinson, and the majority of the minutes were from G League players, 2-way contract guys, undrafted rookies, and you know, the rest. So I think that the Heat have looked amazing throughout preseason, and one player I want to talk about is Tyler Herro. Now, a lot of you guys might say, you know, based off the title of this video or based off what I've said in the first couple of seconds of this video, you're overreacting to 3 preseason games, and that is something that is a very valid point that you can make. But I think that this year for Tyler is going to be a lot different from last year, and let me tell you why. Now, last year, Tyler Herro was the butt of a lot of jokes. A lot of people clowned on him, memed on him. People, you know, kind of just named him as the bubble boy because a lot of people were disappointed based off of his season last year. Now, I'm here to tell you that his season was not a disappointment. He actually improved statistically, and, you know, he showed a lot of flashes that he could be a very good player last season. Now, obviously, a lot of people, a lot of Heat fans expected this guy to be an all-star year too, and I kind of knew that this was not realistically possible, but I expected him to be an 18-point per game scorer. He wasn't an 18-point per game scorer. He ended up being a 15-point per game scorer. So Tyler Herro, I think, disappointed a lot of people, but let me tell you why his season last year should not be an indication of what type of player that he can be and what type of player he is. So last season for Tyler was a very up and down season. It was a roller coaster of a season for him. The main reasons were that when Tyler started off the season with the Heat, he started off at the starting point guard position. Then he got moved to the bench. Then he got moved again back to the starting lineup once we had some, you know, COVID protocols. Then he got injured, and then when he came back, his role was all over the place. Now, this should just tell you how many times he was thrown in and out of different situations, different roles, and that is very hard for a second-year player. And one thing I did not even mention was the fact that Tyler was coming off a very short offseason. You know, most NBA players usually have about 3 to 4 months of an offseason, depending on when they're eliminated from the playoffs. Tyler had less than 2 months of an offseason because, number one, we went to the finals, and against the Lakers, we took them to 6 games. And number two, the offseason was short as it is for every other team. So the Heat and the Lakers basically had the shortest offseason. And, you know, this really impacted our season in general, but also impacted a lot of players, you know, progression. And Tyler was one of these players. Now, I do think, you know, obviously his statistical numbers improved, but I do think he could have gotten a lot better than what he did last year. I do think he could have shown a lot more than what he did last year if, you know, he was given a full offseason and if he wasn't, you know, thrown into different roles. And I think that the reason that I'm buying so much stock into Herro, and the reason I called him one of the X factors of this Heat team, and why I think he's going to have a breakout season, is because I think he has a finally, you know, a defined role on this team. And I think it's very similar to the bubble. During the bubble, Tyler was the guy off the bench, that he was the spark plug. You know, Kendrick Nunn was not really getting much minutes. Goran was in the starting lineup. So really off the bench, the guy that we, you know, relied on for instant offense was really Tyler. And I think that, you know, in this season, it's, you know, it's going to be much more of the same. We obviously have a potent starting 5, but off the bench, apart from Victor Oladipo, who's currently injured right now, we don't really have any guys who can create their own shot. The one guy who we've seen shown, you know, flashes of him being a bucket getter is Tyler. And I think that that's why he's going to have such a great season this year, is because he has a defined role, and that second unit is basically his. He's going to have a lot of the ball in his hands. He doesn't have to worry about setting his teammates up. Obviously, you know, he's going to have to play make well, but his main priority is to score the ball, and that's what he's always been good at. He's always been a scorer from high school to college to the NBA level. scoring is what Tyler Herro brings on a consistent basis. Now, throughout these 3 preseason games so far, Tyler Herro is averaging 25.3 points per game, shooting 56% from the field and 50% from 3, while also averaging 6 assists per game, or 6 rebounds per game and 3 assists per game. These are amazing shooting splits. Like, these are shooting splits that you know, like a guy who's a all NBA player would put up. Now, granted, this is only 3 preseason games, but I've seen a lot of people saying that Tyler Herro could be the leading scorer on this team. I think it'll be Bam, but I think Tyler could be a second or a third, depending on, you know, depending on how well he does. And I think, you know, it's not far-fetched to say that he could be in the running for the leading scorer on this team, because I think Jimmy will be very, you know, Jimmy and Kyle will look to set their teammates up. I think Bam will be aggressive, but it kind of just depends on, you know, how aggressive he is. I think that Tyler has a chance to be one of the, you know, leading candidates for 6th man of the year. I would definitely pick him for 6th man of the year. In your award predictions, whatever, I'd definitely pick him top 3 for that. Most improved, you know, maybe in that as well. I think he has a better chance of winning 6th man of the year than most improved, but most improved, he has a good shot of winning that as well. And I think that Tyler has just gotten a lot better. You know, this offseason, he's added 10 pounds of muscle, which is going to be really helpful, because last season, as I said, he was banged up with a lot of injuries. And, you know, it's going to be very important that he doesn't get banged up with injuries, and adding those 10 pounds of muscle is going to ensure that his durability is at an all-time high. And when he was asked about, you know, if there was any trade-offs between, you know, adding 10 pounds of muscle and then losing speed and agility, he said no. He feels faster, stronger, and better than ever. And this is very encouraging to see. So, you know, the fact that he's added these 10 pounds of muscle to become more durable, he just looks very smooth. Like his handle is a lot smoother. I remember in the playoffs, his ball handling was like the only weak part of his offense. He was getting ripped up a lot by really good defenders. And the first half of the Spurs game, in the first quarter particularly, DeJounte was doing his thing on him, but he really settled into the game, and he hit DeJounte for like 5 consecutive pull-up jumpers. And that's just a sign of a guy who's growing, whose offensive game is just, you know, getting more versatile before our eyes. And I just think that Tyler Herro, you know, from what I've seen from him, he just looks really good, really solid, and he's gonna play a big part in this Heat season. Like, shooting 56% from the field is ridiculous. And you know, if he wants to be a guy like, you know, what he's modeled himself after, you know, Devin Booker is one of the most efficient players in the NBA. Tyler Herro is going to have to do that. Now, I'm not saying he's going to beat a Devin Booker, because I don't really like comparing players like that, but he has a good chance in my opinion. But yeah, man, you know, this is very refreshing to see, especially for a guy who's defended Herro for a long time against critics and naysayers. There was a lot of, you know, misconceptions coming out last year. I don't know where this, you know, the news came out that he's distracted by off the court, you know, issues and stuff like that. Now, obviously, there were some off the court issues he had to deal with, but, you know, people were saying he wasn't focused on the game of basketball. And to a degree, you know, he did say that sometimes he did not enjoy coming to work because he had a lot of stuff that he was dealing with at home. But, you know, from what the quotes I read said, they were talking about him just, you know, partying and stuff like that instead of working on his craft. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions I've ever heard, because if you know anything about Tyler, you know, all his coaches, teammates, players that he's played against have all said, you know, have all commented about how hard he works. He's one of the hardest workers on this team. And, you know, even Jimmy said it, you know, Bam said it. Like, everyone knows how hard of a worker he is and how much work he puts into his craft. So that was just nonsense. You know, what was said about him not, you know, working on his craft, like that is complete nonsense. Another reason why I think Tyler's going to have a big season is because his trainer that he works with now, he has a trainer in Drew Hanlon, who's one of the best trainers in the NBA. If you know anything about Drew Hanlon, you know that he's a really good trainer. He's, you know, developed guys. I'm not going to say developed, but he's trained guys like Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine, like you name it, bro. Like, he's one of the best trainers in the game. And I think I saw a lot of the footage of what he was doing with this pure sweat basketball training, and like, he is very good, and he's going to get Tyler right for sure. I'm just super excited for Tyler, man. I think he's going to have a great season, breakout season, whatever you want to call it. And I would highly suggest that you believe in Tyler, buy stock into him, because he's going to be a big piece of why this Heat team is successful. But that's probably going to be it for the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Make sure y'all drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. I'll see you guys later as always, man. Peace.